With the impending arrival of WandaVision, the MCU is about to enter a new era of TV shows, the Disney Plus era. But of course, there are already several TV shows that take place within that fictional universe. 11 to be precise. And yes, they do take place in the MCU. It's clearly established by the shows themselves. The fact that the movies barely reference them is irrelevant.
I have spoken.
So, before we get all the new ones Disney is giving us, let's rank the existing 11. I'm Phil, and this is the MCU TV shows ranked. Before we start though, a confession. Several of these shows I haven't seen the final season of. It was my intention to finish them before making this list, but I just wanted to get it out before WandaVision hit our screens, so here we are. Let's get started, shall we? At the very bottom of this list, at number 11 is, drumroll please, Inhumans. I mean, what to say about this show? It had potential in its premise, but the execution was just a little bit dull. Even the set design was dull. What was a vibrant and colourful hidden city on the moon in the comics became a grey concrete monstrosity in the TV series. And they cut off the hair of the character whose main power is she can independently move her hair and use it as a weapon. I get the CGI budget for the hair might have been a little on the high side, but come on guys, really? There were some episodes that were at least watchable, I may even say enjoyable, but not quite enough to get it any higher than bottom place on this list. And number 10 is Iron Fist. I don't dislike Iron Fist overall, it's actually got some great elements in it. I actually really like Finn Jones in the title role. And our boy Sacha Dhawan's in it. Yes, before he was the master, he was a martial arts master. The show just suffers from some serious pacing issues, especially in its first season. It takes too long to get going with the main plot, and that is why it's this low on the list. At number 9, The Defenders. This was meant to do for the TV shows what the Avengers movie did for the big screen heroes, propel them to a new level of popularity and public awareness. Instead, it signalled the beginning of the end of the Netflix side of the MCU. So why did it fail where the Avengers succeeded? They followed the same formula. Create individual series to establish each hero? Check. Make sure they're a success? Check. Give one of them a sequel/second season to make sure it was a success and wasn't just a fluke, and to further establish the world? Check. Have one secondary character that pops up in each of the franchises to establish the shared environment and hint that they might all connect up at some point? Check. Finally, have a challenge big enough that the individual heroes have to team up to defeat it. Sit back and accept all the critical adulation. Check? The Defenders' flaws come down to balancing its cast. With 4 heroes and several side characters needing time, it's a delicate job. Joss Whedon, the Avengers director, is good at balancing an ensemble cast. He's done it in many of his TV shows, and he brought that ability to the big screen, especially in the first Avengers film. The Defenders did not get that balance quite right. It also had some pacing issues. In particular, it managed to feel both like there weren't enough episodes for the story, but also that there was so little happening that they could just waste a whole episode not doing much in the middle. It was, however, fun seeing Daredevil, the Iron Fist, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage all together, and I don't hate it, but it's not strong enough to be further up this list. At number 8, Cloak and Dagger. Now this is where it starts getting hard, because I really like every show from this point on. And this next bunch in the middle area of this list, well, there's not that much between them. Saying that, while I love Cloak and Dagger, I can see why it wouldn't be for everyone. It's a very stylised show, and you'll probably either love those stylised elements, or they'll put you right off. I also love the music. It's almost constant throughout every episode. A mix of underscoring and emotive songs that start low under the dialogue before crescendoing out at the emotional peak of any given scene. It's also beautifully filmed too. If you haven't watched this, at least check out a few episodes. You might find it's not your thing, but you might also find your new favourite superhero show. Number 7, Agent Carter. Who doesn't love Peggy Carter? Seeing her post-war adventures for 2 seasons was a delight, and it's a crime we didn't get more. If we had, I have no doubt that this would have ended up higher up on the list, as plot arcs developed further and we learnt more about our cast of characters. Incidentally, this is the only one of the pre-Disney Plus era MCU shows to actually be directly referenced on the big screen corner of the MCU, when series regular character Jarvis, Howard Stark's butler, is seen with Howard in Avengers Endgame. At number 6, I put Luke Cage. The first season of this was better than the second, although even that felt a little disjointed when the villain character changed halfway through the season. But despite both these things, it was still a really interesting show. It tackled issues such as racism and poverty in clever and engaging ways. Cancelled after its second season though, I did feel it left its story unfinished, with Luke Cage in a new status quo that really deserved to be explored more. In 5th place, it's The Punisher. Okay, now we're at the part of the list where I have to start admitting I haven't seen every season of some shows. I have not seen the second and final season of Punisher, so its placement on this ranking is based purely on season 1. But boy do I love that first season. What drama, what a brilliant character study of a seriously damaged man, and all the while tackling issues of radicalisation and military and corporate corruption. I really hope the second season, when I get around to watching it, is as good as the first. At number 4, the very first MCU TV show we ever got, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a hard one to rank because various eras of its 7-season run feel very different to each other. It had its highs, it had its lows, but we need to rank it, so here it goes. Sorry for the cheesy rhyming there. Some key highlights for me in this series were the season 1 tie-in to Captain America Winter Soldier. That's when things first radically changed for the show, and the first time I was both completely shocked by events and felt the threat was actually really dangerous. Also, the Ghost Rider arc was very well done. The season they were sent to the future, where the Earth had been split into 2, was another good one. But the biggest thing this series had going for it was its cast. They gelled so well, were so watchable, and it was genuinely heartbreaking whenever we lost one of them. Sure, it's had its low seasons too, half the season stuck in an evil virtual reality world, but the highs definitely overshadow them. In 3rd place, it's Runaways. I have not seen season 3 of Runaways, but boy do I love the first 2 seasons. This is another show that works so well because of its cast. This time, teenagers who discover their parents are evil supervillains. Well, they don't have capes and stuff, and they kind of just have regular jobs. They're kind of very grounded supervillains, but some have powers, and they formed a group that did evil stuff, like kidnapping people and sacrificing them, and dodgy property deals. Oh yeah, and one started a cult. The kids, as you might guess from the title, run away. Most of them have powers too, which they only start discovering after they find out their parents are bad guys. It's just a really good time, and a serialized storytelling style that I love, with engaging and fun characters. Oh, and apparently they have a crossover with Cloak and Dagger in season 3, which I will get around to watching soon. So that brings us to the runner-up. I have not seen season 3 of Jessica Jones, but boy do I love the first 2 seasons. Well, okay, it's really just the first season. The second had some issues. But that first one is so damn strong it shines through to get this show to second place on the list. Tackling themes of depression, abuse, self-destruction, it was engaging throughout, helped of course by the brilliant cast. Kristen Ritter was perfect casting as Jessica. Her supporting cast is also strong, including Mike Coulter, introduced here as Luke Cage. But the peak of casting in the first season has to be David Tennant as the villainous Kilgrave, the 10th Doctor, as a villain, and not just a villain, a really evil son of a... He is vile, and he plays it so well. I would say this is the finest bit of acting I've ever seen from the man. And that of course leaves first place to Daredevil. I have not seen season 3 of Daredevil, but boy do I love those first 2 seasons. I was so excited for the first season of this to drop almost 6 years ago that I took the day off work and binged it all in one day. My kids wouldn't let me get away with that now, they'd want me to do stuff with them. But my oldest was only a few months old at the time and thus could not voice any objections. This show was something new. It rewrote what superhero TV shows could be. Completely serialized, planned to interconnect with other shows from the off, brutally violent and tons of action, but without sacrificing genuine character development. These felt like real people, dealing with real situations. It was down to earth, street level, and it was fantastic. Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin was one of the most complex villainous characters we had met in a superhero TV show up to that point. The whole show was perfectly cast, well acted, well written, it just had everything. And that's why it wins this list. So, that's my ranking of the MCU TV shows so far. Let me know in the comments below which are your favourites. Or, just shout at me that these aren't real MCU shows if you must. Won't change my mind about it, of course, but you never know. It might make you feel better. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and all that jazz for more MCU content from me, including weekly reviews of WandaVision starting, about now, I guess, depending on how long I take to edit this. That and other geeky pop culture content on subjects like Doctor Who, Star Trek and more. So do stick around for all of that. I'll see you soon.